Everybody has planned to go for lunch, and so they're busy planning stuff. So I'll try and go through this real fast, and if you have any questions. First of all, Thailand is a special place for me because 15 years ago, I took my wife on a trip to Thailand. We went on a tour, and we spent 17 days from south to the north on a luxury bus. And when we got there, we were leaving after 17 days, she started crying, and she said, I don't want to leave this place. Let's stay 2 more weeks. Let's stay here. And I said, no, we're on a tour. We have to go because we have plane, or flight. So it's a special place to me, and I had a chance to go back, and I went to the Triangle and spent 2 days there. So let me tell you about, first of all, there was a doctor by the name of Helen Labe, 25 years ago, went on a trip to South Vietnam. She got hooked on missions. She came back home and she told her husband, who also was a doctor, she said, I'm quitting being a surgeon. I'm going to be a missionary. I'm going to be a medical missionary. And started Circle of Love Foundation in Rockford, Illinois, and started recruiting doctors from all over the country. And so for the last 25 years, she has been going to several countries in Africa and Asia. 20 years ago, I went on my first trip with her to South Africa, and I got hooked. And I've been to several Asian countries and several African countries during the year. About this trip, we had 5 doctors. 3 was from Rockford, Illinois, where we live. 1 was from Alaska, and 1 was from South Africa. The doctor from South Africa has been with us on several trips, but this year she brought her husband, who is an engineer and never been, and so he came to me and he said, I understand you assign people, what should I do? What would I be doing? And I said, I'll find something for you to do. So I told him, I asked him if he can count to 30. And he said, yeah. And I said, you'll be counting pills. We have little packages of 30 pills that we give to people sometimes for once a month, so they can have a month. So that was his job. Anyhow, so we had 5 doctors. The lady from Alaska, this was her first mission trip with us. And the South African lady has been with us in several places. We didn't have a pharmacist, and we have to have a pharmacist because we set up a pharmacy with our medical team. And the lady who usually go with us, she couldn't get off her job. We couldn't find it. So we had to recruit a pharmacist. We recruited a pharmacist from Hong Kong. And him and his wife came from Hong Kong and worked with us for 2 weeks on that trip. We also had a lady that came, and I said, are you a doctor or are you a nurse? And she says, no, I'm a prayer warrior. I pray for people. And she came on this mission trip to just pray for people. And then we had 3 lay people. What we worked with this year, we have been working in Thailand and Laos. As you know, the Triangle, if you go northeast of Thailand, there is Laos across the river, the Mekong River, and then Thailand, and then we have the Triangle. We have Burma, which is a place you can't go. If you want to go, but they snatch your passport, and you don't know if you're going to get it back when you come, so you don't want to go there. If you want to go across the Mekong River to Thailand and Laos, you must have papers. You can't just take a boat and cross the river, you'll be shot dead. So you have to come through immigration and have papers and pay a fee of maybe 10 American cents or something like that. So the Laotian people brought 19 people. They had interpreters who knew English and can interpret. And we had 2 evangelists that came. And we also had 3 people there was 2 different groups we were working with, tribes. And so we had 2 translators from those tribes who can register the people when they came in. And we had truck drivers. We have to pay people to bring these people. We actually worked with Laotians during the 10 days we were there. So we would have trucks. We paid people to bring them. We pay for the gas, and they would bring them to the river, the Mekong River. They come through immigration, and then we had trucks that pick them away. They were 5 miles away. The immigration point was 5 miles away, and they bring them to a center. So, after working in Laos for 20 years, 2 years ago, a government official appeared at one of our places and said that we had to have a local doctor that would be there to supervise us. So that created a problem. Here we are, all our doctors are Christians, and they present the gospel to the patients. And we didn't know with the local doctor coming in from Laos whether they would allow us to do this. So we didn't know if we would have the freedom to share the gospel. And that's what we're there for. So last year we had a very small meeting. We only had about 300 people in our mission that came, patients that came. So we work with an evangelist who speaks English, speaks Thai, and also Laotian. And he works back and forth. Very dynamic man. And he decided we're not coming to Laos because we were having, 3 years ago, we also had 2 of our doctors arrested because a patient came. We told them we couldn't see them because they should go to the hospital because the lady was dying. The lady went home, she died. They went to the government and they said our doctors killed her. So 2 of our doctors was in confinement for 3 days, and we had to come up with some money to pay the family. And that's what they wanted. They wanted some money. So we decided we don't want to go back right now to Laos. We're doing all our mission. But we are bringing the people from 10, 15 miles in Laos. They come, we pay for trucks to come and bring them to the border. They go through the immigration, and then we have trucks that pick them up, pickup truck, bring them to where we have a facility. And 15 people, 18 people would jump in a little pickup truck. It's unbelievable how they can pack themselves in. So last year, our evangelist guy decided we're not going to go back to Laos, but we're going to bring the Laotian over across the river into Chiang Mai. But Chiang Mai, we wasn't sure whether we would still have to have doctors, a local doctor to be managing us, so we didn't want that. So, by God's grace, what happened, he was traveling and he found a place, a Mennonite church. And they had a building like this, about almost this size, a little narrow. And he contacted them and asked them if they would rent the building to us, and they said yes. But he didn't make any plans of how much it was going to cost. So when we got there, I think they wanted $30 a day to rent the building. So he came to me and he said, why don't you go and negotiate with them for price? So I went, and finally, anyhow, after some talking with them, and we told them it's costing us money to bring these people, and we have to pay for gas. They told $20 a day. We can have this building. this was perfect because most of the times sometimes our doctors see patients under trees, and they have to move every time the shadow moves this way, or some little building, and we're very crowded. So we had this whole section here where the doctors, or 5 doctors and 2 nurses can set up. And on the other side, we had 100 chairs. And there we had our pharmacy. Perfect place. Nobody was crowded, and it worked well. So God provided this place for us this year, and it was so wonderful. We spent 10 days there, and so that worked out good for us. We saw, I'm going to give you, we saw 2,100 patients in 10 days we were there. 430 were children. We dispensed 4,902 prescriptions. We had 890 steroid injections for joint issues and trigger point. And we gave out 375 reading glasses, 152 sunglasses. And we have some people home. We have 5 women back in Rockford, Illinois, that makes quilts for babies. So every year they make us 50 quilts. And we have a person that goes on the trip that she collects toys, little toys from all year, and she would go and she would, she fills a duffel bag and she pays for it, to have it transported. And so when she sees the little kids in the audience, she just gives them those little stuffed animals, and they go crazy. These kids, for us, they've never seen one of these. So we do that. What is our procedure? How do we do this stuff? How do we present the gospel to these people? What we do in this situation, we had 2 people that came from Laos that spoke the language of the 2 tribes that were coming to see us. And they registered the people. After they are registered, then of course they sit there waiting for the doctors. The doctors we have interpreters who works with our doctors. And then, after the doctor have determined what kind of prescription they need or what their ills are, then they minister to them. I present the gospel to them and ask them if they want to accept Christ. And some of them says yes, and some of them says no, they don't know. But this year, and after the doctors see them, then they give them the paperwork to go and get the prescription. This year, there was a shed outside the building that could seat about 25 people. So we have chairs there, plastic chairs. So although the doctor ministered to them, before they got their prescription, we took them, and they had brought 2 evangelists that speaks to the 2 different tribes. So the evangelists would preach to them for about 10 minutes in groups of about 20, and again ask them if they would accept Christ, present the gospel, and talk to them sometime one-to-one. So we had 2 different times in the trip where they get to hear the gospel. And so that's the process. And then they come back and get the medication, and we take them in the trucks back to go. So these evangelists, they were great. They would not only would they preach to them if they want to accept Christ, they would one-on-one, they would sit and they would talk to them for another 10 minutes or so. And so as I said, we had several hundred who accepted Christ. Christians in Laos live very difficult lives. They are persecuted by the people because, it's a Buddhist country. And so last year, one young preacher was preaching street corner in front of a Buddhist temple on the street corner. And his wife and 2 kids were there, and he got shot and killed because they were against him preaching the gospel. And so Christians there are risking their lives and their comfort and their safety to tell others about Jesus. And the gospel is spreading. In the last 15 years, we have established from our missions here, just our mission, 32 churches in 2 different provinces in Laos. And this year, Pastor Singh told us, who's the evangelist who works with us there, told us that he expects out of the 300 and something people who accepted Christ that they would establish at least 3 or 4 more churches. Another thing that happens after these people go home, we don't leave them there. What they do, they have what they call cottage meetings. All the registration that we have, they take it with them, and they see where the people live in the different districts or villages. And so they go and they make home visits, one-to-one, and then talk to them about Christ again, and tell them about the church. And then they would have like 20 people in a small area, and they would meet at somebody's home and for about a month, 2 days a week for a month, where they would teach them more about the gospel and present the gospel, and then they invite them to come to church. So all the 3,000 people that we saw, they all will be contacted sometime within the next 6 months or so, and present the gospel to them in their own homes, and then they have these villages. So we have created, so a bunch of churches have been created now, and they expect, the church is just growing in Laos. There was a young man, he was my interpreter for 2 days when I was doing reading classes, and his name is Peter in the English language. And he said, my name is the same as yours, I'm Peter. And he says, I'm a pastor, but I can't afford, the church can't afford to pay me, so he plants rice. He also is a rice farmer. And he started the church 6 years ago. Today, he has 600 people in his church. And he was explaining, and I said, well, how big is your church? What's your building is like? And he says, well, my building is a roof, a galvanized roof, and some walls that is just half the size, dirt floors, because they don't have any money to build. So he has dirt floors, and he has plastic chairs. He has some benches and plastic chairs. He says, but my church is growing. And he says, so the next time you come, you have to come and speak at my church. And I said, I'm not a preacher. He said, well, yeah, you have to come to Laos and speak at my church. He says, there is an organization in Seattle, Washington, that is helping raising some money to try and fix his church up and make it a little better. He said he's gotten some money so he can fix the roof and do stuff like that. 1 bathroom in the church for the whole 600 people. So, yeah. So that's a problem they've got is money and they're poor. The one thing about the Buddhists, when they accept, a lot of them, Buddhist people, they have this bracelets that they wear. There are several bracelets to indicate that they're Buddhists. And it's really exciting to see some of the people, when they accept Christ, how they would try to rip off this right away. They would rip the bracelet off their wrist, or they would look for, the doctors have scissors, they would cut them off. And by accepting Christ and cutting the bracelet off, it's a symbolic that they're breaking their ties from the false gods of Buddhism, an agreement with their ancestral spirit. So it's a spirit. Because when you go in Laos and you go in Thailand, every place, every corner, there is Buddhist temples, there is Buddhist, you see Buddha, or you see disciples, big statues. And people there in the morning would bring food and water and put it. There's a little place like this. And so I asked somebody, what is that for? That, they say, they have to feed Buddha, or they have to feed the disciples so that they can stay strong to protect the environment and to protect the people in there. So they go to these and just put food there and they pray. And, that's... So it's fun to see that people take their bracelets, just cut them off, and to show that they're breaking away. And when they go back home, they face a lot of persecution from their people. Some of them are beaten, but some of them stay very strong, and the church is growing. Just with us, as I said before, from our ministry, we have created about 40 new churches have been created, and now the church is growing. And the pastor, the evangelist who works with us, he is training more young people to become pastors. And he spends a lot of time just working with these kids, because a pastor sometime on a Sunday would be preaching at 3 different churches because they don't have enough people. So they will have a meeting at maybe 10 o'clock, and he'll go to another village at 12 and one at 3 or something. So it's 2 or 3 different churches they have to serve at one time. But the church is growing. In Laos, Christianity is now flowing. There are difficulties with the government. There are difficulties with the other religion that feel threatened by Christianity. And we don't know if we're going back to Laos, but we're going to work with the Laotian people, and we can bring them over, and we raise some extra money so that we can have vans and trucks and bring them over so that we can provide medical for them. And a businessman there told me that Laos is what Thailand was 30 years ago. That's how poor Laos is. Or what people in Thailand was 30 years ago, that's what the people are there today. That's how poor they are. And so this is what we do when we go. We go, we present the gospel to them. We provide medical for people who would never see a doctor, who would live in villages where there is no doctors and they don't have the money to go to doctors. And so they come and they get medicine. We have a big pharmacy that we set up. And some of them, and I have to tell you this. A lady came, we were given shots. The doctors were given shots. I think I told her 300 something shots. So she came, and her arm, she couldn't lift the arm. But she had heard that we had prayed for some people, a lady, several years ago, and the lady was healed. So she came, and the doctor was about to give her a shot. And she said, no, I don't want a shot. She saw the prayer lady praying for some people, and she said, I want that lady to pray for me. And she went, and she waited, and she was prayed for. 10 minutes later, she can raise her arm, and she was healed. And we have 8 other people who claimed healing on that trip because of that lady praying for people. So God provided all kinds of miracles on this trip, and getting a place to stay, a place that we can present the gospel and do the medical thing was just a wonderful thing. And this is just a short thing of what God is doing and what we do on our trips. So we go to Africa, we go to Asia, the several country, and we go with a medical team, but we're there to present the gospel. We're there to give people an opportunity to hear what God can do for them. And we spend a lot of time praying for people. And Another thing is somebody told me the last week, 2 weeks ago, they said, well, God, you're lucky that you go to these places and you go on vacation. No, we pay our own way. Everybody pays their own way on these trips. There's no vacation. And we woke from 6 in the morning to about 8 at night.
Explain the pictures.
Oh, the picture. That picture there is our team along with the Laotian team. We had, as I said, 11 people from our trip. So that's our whole team. That's the people from there that came from Laos, that came as volunteers and worked together with us because they are the one who does all the interpretation. And like I do reading glasses and I work in the pharmacy, but I teach the people local how to, when I try to ask them if it's strong or weak, they don't understand that. So I get the person who's working with me, teach them what to do, and they can ask them, you know, in their own language, can they see or what it is it fuzzy or what? So after 20 minutes, I teach them how to do it, and then I don't have to do it, they do it for the rest of the day.
So have them go through the slides now.
Okay, if you want to go through the slides, go through the slides. That's our team, that's our whole team. These are some of the people. I don't take too many pictures, and this year they didn't send out pictures. These are people that were coming after they get off the truck into the building. Again, those are some people waiting to see the doctor. And same thing, they're waiting to see the doctor there, I think, yeah.
How many hours?
That's one of the little girls that the lady, the little, that we give out, my friend who brings those things, you know. Here was a little baby, and we gave her a little blanket, and she was so excited. That's me doing the glasses with one of the patients, fitting for the right glass. So, and you want to take a picture with me, so, yeah. So, that's again, they're getting in the trucks. I saw them get in the truck, and I couldn't believe how many people get into a pickup truck. And then we have to drive them 5 miles up, and then they cross the river to go back to Laos. And we have trucks on the other side. There is the preacher, the evangelist over there, outside on that shed. And they were preaching to them, and they have a little flipboard that they have different pictures. And so they really did a good job preaching. They spent 10 days with us. There's the evangelist there again preaching. Oh, I went to ride the elephant. I had to ride the elephant because my wife rode the elephant. When we went 15 years ago, she embarrassed me because I was afraid to ride the elephants. And so we had to go, I had to go ride there. Those elephants were playing soccer, and they were playing basketball, and they were and competing against each other. And yeah, it's unbelievable. And there is some elephants that paints. They have the leader that gives them the paint, give them the brush, put it in, and they paint, real painting, and they sell them. And they're unbelievable. They will paint like the background of that. They would paint that. The elephants would with their truck. So that's me. I was near one of the elephants, and. That's me riding the elephant. I had to, me and one of the nurses on our trip. That's again them jumping in the van. I took a trip on the Mekong River. I wanted to go over to Laos, and we had to go through customs, and we had to pay a fee, and we had to show them a passport. They give us a receipt, and we had to have that receipt to get back to the triangle. And that's me riding a bamboo raft down the Mekong River. That's dangerous. But I did that, you know. And these are different things all over Thailand. You would see Buddhist images of Buddha or the prophets, and all on this was on the Mekong River. Yeah. So all this is just. Oh, this is in the triangle in my Chiang Mai. Every month there is a big parade. It lasts 5 hours. And you see all these, and so there was a parade the month we were there, the day I was there, and there were the flowers, all the different flowers they have on the triangle. That represents the flowers in the triangle. But, so I lasted 2 hours there and I had to leave it. They take too long. Oh, I have to tell you all this. I was doing glasses. This girl came up to me and she said, "Are you single?" And I said, "Why?" She said, "Are you single?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "I lost my wife a year ago." So she left. She came back, put a chair next to me, and sat there, and she put her finger out like this. And I'm looking at her, and here's 3 of the young pastors. They're just laughing now, and they're looking at me, and they're saying, "Peter, you have to do something. Peter, you have to do something." And I don't know what it is. So she finally grabbed my finger, put it there, and held it there, and then and women don't usually hug men. Then she got up and she hugged me. And then the young man said to me, "Do you know what you just did?" And I said, "No." "Well, you're committed." So I was, and she wanted my phone number, and she wanted all this information, and I want to give it to her. And she says, "Well, I can't understand English." She said, "But you can translate into Thai." And she was telling me how to, and I said, "Okay." So then she sent me a note. I don't know how she got my number, the guys. And she sent me a note, translate into Thai, "I like you." So I was leaving the next day, so I wasn't that worried. So I'm committed. So if you see me leave here and go back to Thailand in the next 2 or 3 days, that's where I'm going. Anyhow, that's a little of what we do on our mission trips. We go, we provide medical, but we also we try to minister to the people and present the gospel to people. We do it. And
anybody have any questions?
yeah.
When the people will come in, sit in that hall there, how long do they get to wait before they get their turn?
Well, one thing about foreign people, they don't understand the system of you come and you wait. Some of them would come and make excuse. "Oh, my heart is bad. I'm not feeling too good. I need to see the doctor right away." All this kind of stuff. So we institute, when they come, we have a number. We number each application, each registration. So we call by number. So they come and they go, and sometimes it depends on if a person has real medical problem. The doctors will see them for long. It takes longer. But we see about 250 people a day. Usually the doctors see 250. Here we had 30 to 100 people or something like that, so it was a little more. So, but they will wait their turn. They'll wait an hour sometime to see a doctor. But usually within half an hour to an hour, they will see the doctor. So.
Peter, are the Hmong some of the tribesmen from Laos?
Are the what?
Hmong, ones inside the U.S. and Vietnam. I'm not sure if they were Laos or not. I know they were.
Laos? I didn't get
Yeah, Hmong, H-M-O-I-G, Hmong tribesmen.
The Hmong monks all over the place. You see them walking and they have that yellow outfit and they walk around all over the place there.
If you have any other questions, you can come up and talk to Peter, and I know we gotta probably put chairs away yet too.
Yeah.
Thank you, Peter.